Hello, viewers. Good evening to all of you. We are happy to start our first day on our Words of Wisdom series. And today, our guest, our speaker, is none other than Smile Gupta. So, welcome, ma'am, and we are pleased to have you as a mentor on our first day. A little intro about her. So, she is a full stack developer, and she is currently working in KonhufHub technologies. And ma'am. Now I'm handing over to you. Please forgive me if I've missed anything. You may take over now.
Thank you for so much for such a warm welcome. Okay, I'll just cue me in. Just if my screen is visible. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here at day one of this. So today, as you all know, that we'll be having a session on React. Just this session would be a beginner friendly, and as the title suggests, it's like everything you need to know in React as a beginner. I'll try to cover from try that we'll cover all the concepts, and we'll also do some hands on the concepts which everybody needs as a beginner. Okay. So, one request I would be having from everybody's end is that if you have any doubt, any small doubt at any point of time, just shoot that in the comment section, and I'll be happy to help, and I'll be happy to answer as much as questions you put me in. So, React. This is one of the buzzwords of today. Everybody here, everybody there are learning React. There are a lot of frameworks today if we see in the market, be Vue.js, Angular, then Ember, Next.js, ReactJS. There is one thing that why React is standout. I'll just give you one example just to begin with why React. Okay. See, one of the things is I let's talk about this graph in just a fraction of a minute. I'll just tell you why React is buzzing or it's trending or it's like from the day one when it came into the market, why it's continuously trending. One simple reason is that if you guys remember back then in early 20s or late 90s, we also had one more social media platform called Orkut, right? But the what Orkut is no more. Orkut is, a kind of shutdown. Why it was shut down? Because it was not adaptive enough. And on the other hand, Facebook also that was there. It was there with us since 2004 and it's still there by today. Currently, also it's there. The reason is that it is adapting itself from time to time according to the latest trends. And that is one reason React is, a trending one. I already disclosed some of the things, but if you guess, right, we have three popular frameworks every front end person generally had encountered. One is Vue.js, other is React.js, and third one is our Angular, right? If you see, there is a graph, right? You might think that this graph doesn't have any labeling and stuff like that. And how will you identify which is Vue, which is React, and which is Angular? Take a minute. I already gave you one example of Orkut versus Facebook. Can you try to guess which can be Angular among it, which can be React among it, and which can be Vue among it? Just take a fraction of a second and think that Orkut is no more and Facebook is still there. Why it is there? Facebook is ever long trending. Since it's same thing if we remember, our Facebook is trending and so is the technology in which Facebook is built in. Facebook is built in React. So that is why, or that is one reason, you know, it's trending because why Facebook needed to be upgraded. Think about the reason. When Facebook was there in old early 2000s, it was very slow and its UI is not that good now. But if you see the upgraded version of Facebook, it's like fab, right? And that is why the design, the speed, the optimization of Facebook is so very good. And that is why all other people are trying to have such a same flexibility, good design, and stuff like that in their systems also. And that is why everybody is trying to migrate, be it be MNC, be it be a startup. Everybody is trying to incorporate React with it. There is only one company which is not using React very officially. That is our Google. Because why? Google has developed their Angular. Then why they will use Facebook's thing? So that is why Angular is there. But it doesn't mean that Angular is not very. People don't use it. People still use it. But yes, React is more popular. Okay, this is the screenshot I took recently from Google Trends. Like I compared Vue, React, and Angular. That is why I got this result. Okay. So yeah, let's start our React journey. So it's generally said that you should not describe a meme. I am also not doing it. But yeah, the first one is a normal front end dev, and the second one is a front end dev with React, a cool one, right? So let's try to be cooler like him only. So I'll try to break the concepts into small segments. What we will do first, I'll tell you in layman terms what is React. Then I'll go into the technicalities. Okay, so that you will be able to relate what is this React. If we talk about React in very simple terms, React is a Vue library from Facebook. You might be wondering what is this Vue library. I'll give you one example. And okay, I'll give you one example. Since we are talking about Facebook, yeah, React is basically developed by Facebook itself. So let me give you an example using Facebook itself. So let me open Facebook. This is my Facebook profile, right? Now it says that React is a Vue library from Facebook. What does a Vue library means? Vue library is basically a library that manages views. Giving you an example, see this horizontal, this navbar is one view, one segment. This sponsored cards, this friend request section, this contact section, or this story section, or this news feed, or this infinite scroll, right? So this all are like React is displaying views. It's more on those lines. I'll give you one example. We have a paintbrush and we have a SL, right? We try to paint things just to make it good. We try to paint small things, or we try to make small views, right? So this is a view library. I'll talk about it, why it's called library and why it's not called a framework. I'll tell you more about it. Just give me a fraction of a minute. Then second thing about React is React renders the view based upon the state of the application. I'll give you one example. See, this is my screen. If I am moving, let's change something. I have this friend request section. Let me delete one of the requests. I'm deleting it. See, none of the sections have been reloaded. Only this section has been reloaded. Correct? So that is the means that it only renders based upon the state of the application. It might sound a bit confused. Let me break into simple terms. Render is nothing but just loading. Okay, loading a React code, we generally call it render. So render the view based state of the application. Okay, what is state? We'll talk about it more, but state is basically Same like when we same state, let's assume for of now this is an English word. State is what? A variable or a state, like I am sitting, I am standing, this is our state. So a thing or a framework or a library that renders based upon the state of the application. If the state has been changed, like I have deleted it, the state was either you confirm it or either you delete it. This is the two options, and the state is yet to respond, right? So yet to respond, when I press confirm or delete, what will happen? The yet to respond will either will change into responded, right? So according to the view has been changed, instead of hampering the other components, it will just focus on this section. And everything has maths, and if I give a reactor equation, right, it would be react's equation would be if my function, if my state has been changed, then my view has been changed, and together we use this react.js to make our web apps. So, if I talk about in technical terms, simple React is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces. I'll give you one example. I know a lot of people, right? If you say na, in front end, generally you ask, what is React? Some people would be say, some days back I asked one of my friends, you know what is React? He said, ha, I know React to एक framework है. Some people say, haha, I know React is just a tool. But no, we will not make this mistake. Our React is a library. I'll tell you how it is a library and not a framework. See, I'll take example of Angular, or I'll let me take example of Vue.js. Okay. Simple example I give whenever you make a project or whenever you make a website. Generally, we do routing because these are single page applications. So we had to do routing anyways, because if we are making a big project or stuff like that, we can't make it single page now. We need to add a different page. So adding a different page, we call it routing. Okay. So whenever we are doing routing, what happens is uh, in React or in Angular. Just let me talk about Angular or Vue first. In Angular or Vue, we don't have to, call something extra. Or when we have to do routing, we don't need to import a new library or import a new package. We don't have to do that. Routing support comes handy in it. We don't need any external package or module. But on the other hand, in React, if we want to do routing, generally we what we use there is a thing called React routing. We have to import that package like npm install, and that package we have to install, and then only we can do routing. So this is what it makes React different, and React is a library. Okay. And our Angular or Vue.js, right? Any support like routing, errors, then making tooltips, any message, right? The toaster message, everything that will come between the within the library or within the framework itself. But for React, if you even want to have a small tooltip, right, you have to install something. Install some external dependency, then only you will be able to have that feature. So that is why React is a library. Now, a second thing is that this is one of the this is the most common word used in React, that is a component. Okay, what I wrote, heart of the React lies in components. What does see in our body, heart is the most important component, right? So heart of the React is in a component. How? Just coming back to this Facebook example, see, whenever we sit and develop, right, what happens is we make this nav bar as one component, we make this story card as one component, this sponsored section as one component, and it has two cards. These are one component. So all the website, it is divided into small components. Let me give you one more example. Let's open Twitter. So this section, my nav part, is one component. These are cards. Whenever a developer was making these cards, right, what they generally do, they make a generalized component. What is a generalized component? Okay. Generalized component is like a template. Like what they do, they make a template, like taking this tweets example. In this, they will have an option that here a photo will come, here your name will come, here what will come, your username, here the date will come, here the content will come, comment, retweet, like, and share, right? And here are three dots. So this is what they make it as a component. Whenever you want to display any tweet, you call that component and just interchange the values. Just like we have template, right? Or we have, when we go to banks, we have a check is given to us, we have to just fill in the details and we can get or withdraw money. So same, like we have component, this guy, this tweet is a component. And here also these cards, these are different components. So React, whenever we are developing anything, we divide our entire website into small components. Okay. So this is second thing. And yes, React, as told earlier, whenever a state changes, it doesn't render the entire application. It just render that specific portion. Okay. So React over itself says react to the state change. Whenever there is a state change, then only React will reload, and not the entire application. React will reload only a small segment. Okay. So in a nutshell, I'll not blabber more of the theory. Simple things what we have to remember about React is a JavaScript library that is used to build user interfaces, and it is misinterpreted as a tool or a framework or a language, but it's not, it's just a library. Then why it is used, it helps us in making lightweight, fast, and it is one of the modern ways to execute code in your computer. Okay. Now I was talking about component and component. Basically, in React, there are two kind of components. One is a functional component and one is a class component. I'll tell you more about what is a functional component and what is a class component when we will implement it. For now, just understand component is something that let us to split the UI into independent, reusable pieces, reusable pieces of the code. Okay, that's it. That is a component. Before moving ahead, how React is faster than the other frameworks or other libraries, I'll show you a video. Okay. There is one more thing that comes into picture in case of React, that is a virtual DOM. Just see this video and you will get a lot clarity. What is this React? I'll just play it, just understand it. So this was how React is. Yeah. This voice is it inaudible? Okay, I'll summarize what happened in the video. So it was a story of two people. One was a painter, that is our Vue, and other is a React. Okay. So what happened? This Vue is our old times. This is that Vue that is generally when we write simple. Just giving one example, when we were writing a code sometimes back when there was no React, a code with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That is okay. So what happened was whenever you get a something new, so this painter, what this painter likes to do, this painter just whatever that user model was given, right? Somebody was giving him a detail of requirements what you have to paint. That is our user inputs. So the user gave some inputs. Then what was happening? The inputs, the this painter, that painter is a lazy painter or such a painter that who loves to make new paintings. For sure he makes very awesome paintings, but whenever you say that painter that change some color, like ideally he drawn a blue circle, then instead of blue you draw some red circle, or you change the name, or you change the point. Okay, so what it was, to change every value whenever when we are doing it with plain HTML, this JavaScript, what we have to do, we have to maintain ID for every div. It is okay for maintaining for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. That's it. Like just to maintain the optimized speed. For some days it's okay, but not for 100 divs, 200 divs. No. So that is why there came a guy called React. That was the olden times when we had to keep a track of IDs. Sometimes if the IDs are in sequence, right, we can even just whenever we want to dynamically render something, what we generally do, we do conditional statements, right? So that will eventually check on one condition, right? It's not like that. If you have 200 conditions written in some serial order, it will check in instantly. No, it will take time. So to avoid all these things, React have something called virtual DOM. So I'll give you one diagram which I made, that it is a virtual DOM. What actually does it all whenever my React code is compiled, right? As you remember in the video, there was a painter, and who came to help? A robot came to help. Ideally, that robot was React. What that robot did, paint a user sent a user gave some inputs or some requirements to our view. Then what happens is that view just draws everything according to the user requirements, but it don't remember what were my old requirements, because whenever eventually we are making a website or we are making an application, right? We are not making it for one time use, right? We are making it for multi-purpose. So that is why every time the user request will be changed. That is one thing. So instead of painting, or in painting here, it is loading. Okay, instead of loading everything from scratch, what it does, it see, suppose some web page took some 0.34 seconds to load, or 0.5 seconds to load, right? So, or 1 second, or probably 2 seconds. So every time new user request, user will not wait every time 2 seconds, 3 seconds. No, he'll not wait. He wants speed, because with the passage of time, everything has become fast. So our code should also. So since their speed is fast, so how they can increase or optimize the speed? Just load only those components which have changes and not the entire ones. So what our robot did, or what our React is doing, Vue paints all the existing or the user requirements, and this React keep everything in their mind. They first, if the nothing is drawn or nothing, no code is there in our DOM. DOM is like when we do inspect element, right? Some code comes, that is our DOM. Okay. So whenever nothing is there in the DOM, it directly pastes everything. And if there would be something is present in the DOM, they will identify what components have been changed, and only those components would be updated. So this is how React is fast, and that is one reason why it was developed, because of this virtual DOM that makes React stand out. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So whenever you are learning React, see, everybody have their own set ideology. According to me, if you want to excel in React, you have to first know about these four things. One is JSX. Second is you should know what is event handling. Then what is state, and one what is prop. I'll tell you about them. I'll just tell you. Okay, what is this JSX? Okay, I'll just give you an example. You what you see, whenever anything is running in our browser, right? Only two kind of languages, or two kind of code a browser is able to understand. One is our assembly language, and other is JavaScript. So everything which we, when we want to display it, right, we actually wanted in JavaScript or in our HTML CSS kind of format, right? But there is a different style. How do we write code in Java React? We write code in something we call it as JSX. JSX is nothing but JavaScript. If I talk about the full form, it is JavaScript XML. It is nothing but a mixture of JavaScript and HTML, basically a JavaScript which looks like HTML. I'll give you an example. I have wrote some code, a piece of code. Okay. What this code is. If you see here, I'm just zooming it. This one. In JS, see line number 4. Something I have written, this hello world. And ideally, what happens is whenever we are making a plain HTML, CSS type sub web page, generally we have to write it in HTML portion, right? We don't write anything in JavaScript portion. But you might think there is no JavaScript written. I have just written hello world. How come it is in JavaScript? Okay. This is not JavaScript. This is JSX. JSX is just a kind of template, or a kind or a format. In simple words, if I say that, JSX is one format in which we write code. This is nothing but a combination of JavaScript and HTML. So just ignore the syntax for time being. What I have done, I'll try to explain. Okay. I tried making, I talked, right? I told there is something called component. So here I have wrote class. See just like there, just ignore if you're not clear with the syntax what it is written. Don't worry about it. When we will write our own class component, then I'll explain you why this class is there and stuff like that. And yes, there is some difference in when we are writing a component in a code pen or when we'll actually code that. Just hold on for 2-3 minutes about it. We'll write our own component. So simply, I tried making a class component and I named it as my component. This is extends react.component. This is syntax. Okay. Render also, render is loading. And in the render, we write something called return. In every render will comprises of a return block. In this return block, what will happen? We will write a HTML only. So what happens is we kind of write a JSX, not pure HTML, but in JavaScript only we write HTML, which is called JSX, and we write some JSX code when we want to load it. Okay. So this is one function, React DOM.render. Whenever see, now you might be wondering this how this JavaScript has been loaded. This is my web page ideally, right? How it's been loaded. Some simple reason is, if you remember, when we wanted to connect JavaScript with our HTML, what we used something called ID, right? So same ID, here we have wrote ID is equals to app. So again, this also comes in handy whenever we write JavaScript, right? If we want to return something. So here some function is there. This is the JavaScript's React function, because React is eventually a library of JavaScript only. That React DOM dot render. Here React DOM is the virtual DOM, okay, for the React. That you load, what you load my component and get document dot get element by ID. This is same our old HTML one only. And this is my, there is ID called app. And this is how it has been connected. So in this way, this is my JSX. So basically, I'll tell you JSX. If you talk about JSX, this is one of the plain JSX. Everybody would have seen JSX. I'm pretty sure that you might. That is other thing that we are hearing this term JSX for the first time. Okay, I'll give you an example. Everybody have enrolled into some events, or everybody, maybe the girls would have enrolled into Nika. Probably everybody, or boys would have been. Everybody have accounts on Amazon or Flipkart and stuff like that. Or you have enrolled with some newsletters of your favorite companies, favorite brands, and stuff like that. They always send you a dedicated newsletter in which, in starting, your name is there, like hi Ismail, hi Abhi, hi Srushit. So dedicated name is there. What do you think? They would have wrote a dedicated name to everybody? No, they would not have. What they have used, they would have used a template, right? They would have used a template in which they write your name. I'll try to do something here also. Let me do enter. Let me write constant I'm writing. Let me write name. Okay. And in the name, let me write some value. Okay. I have done const name and some value I have done. Correct. So what if, now how the JSX looks like? There would be obviously a name. Name is generally your username, which you keep in keep on Nika or Amazon and anything. You always give your username, right? From where they will identify it's you. So JSX is nothing but a template. Like I have just how this is hello world was there. Same case they have wrote a generalized mailer, and wherever the values have to be changed, they simply write them into declare some constants or dynamically fetch the value, and in this curly braces they always fit in that value. This is how my templating works in JS. Okay. And yes, one more thing is that this is not different from JavaScript. Okay, JSX is same as JavaScript only. Just keep that thing in mind. And one more thing, what you can do with JSX is, uh, now I'll tell you, this would be a bit overwhelming for a beginner, but I'll tell you just whenever you want. Okay, what I'll do. Let me open this Facebook into incognito. This is my Facebook. Whenever, if you will see the actual code of Facebook, right? What it will happen, this facebook.com and the routing for facebook.com URL is same, right? But how come when I have opened the same thing into Cognito and when I am logged into the system with that same URL, everything is same, right? Sorry, everything is different, but the URL still remains the same. How is this even possible? This is possible because of JSX only. So there is a thing called conditional rendering. So what is this conditional rendering? There would be one variable, they have made a global variable called logged into the system, and a global variable not logged into the system, right? So a global variable would be there for sure. So that global variable will keep a check that if I am logged in, you have to display something called newsfeed, stories, and stuff like that if you are logged in. And if you are not logged in, then you have to show this input screen. So this is also how it is done. It is done on the basis of JSX. Okay. So this is how much JSX is powerful. If you know how to write JSX, only there are 3, 4 kind of JSX. One is with the simple plain JSX. I gave you an example of Hello World. Then a JSX with the generalization or with templating. When I wrote my name, this is second form of JSX. The other form of the JSX is when we are including some of the JavaScript functions within the JSX. That is third form. And the fourth form is conditional rendering. Like again, the example when a user has been logged in into the Facebook and user is not logged in. How the view changes with one check only, right? This is all my JSX. Okay. Now, if you know JSX, then second thing is that event handling. Okay, I'll give you one example of event handling. Let me open this. What happens is, see, what is event handling? Event handling is same the event handling which we have in our JavaScript, which we have in Python, C++, Java, and stuff like that. Like whenever we click a button, some action has been performed, or whenever we write something in our text field, they save it. That what is in function? This is on click, right? In text field, what we use on blur. So whenever something is happening, this is some event has been handled. So this is event handling. Okay. Then you know how what is event handling. Now comes two important things, that is state and a prop. Okay. So what is state? In very simple terms, if I have to talk with very layman terms, right? A state is something, a object or a variable that holds some information that can change into that can change within the lifetime. Okay. Giving you an example. Again, let's circle back to our Facebook only. So, okay, whenever people were developing this application, right? Let me go on to my profile. So, this would be this name. It is there in this my profile page also, and it is there in this navbar only. How? Do these guys would have declared 4, 5 variables? Or this can wherever I'm seeing this name, right? They would not have declared 4, 5 or 10 variables, they would have only one global variable or one variable. This is what it's called state. A value or an object whose value can be changed throughout the program execution or throughout lifetime. So this is our state. State is nothing so this what you call, it's not the different term, just their React's way of saying variable. Okay, state is simply an object that holds some information that may or may not change over the lifetime of the component. Lifetime of the component, like lifetime of the project and stuff like that. When we will see that component. Okay, and what is a prop? Prop is nothing but a short form of property. Okay, properties example. I'll give you one very good example. Whenever you are developing a big software, right? Again, taking example of Facebook only, you might be noticing. I'll give you one example. This is one button. This is other button. Right? You see two buttons. Think whenever you were writing the code, will you make two buttons? Okay, will you be there two buttons in the sense, obviously you will call in HTML twice, but will you write the same code again and again? No, you will not. Whenever you have to do something like that, what happens is, see, whenever a person is developing a big software, what first thing they have to do, they have to make their own template, as in they define that in the entire application my width of the text will should be this much, or 100 pixel, will be 50 pixel, will be 10 pixel, there should be padding or not, there should be margin or not. These all things are defined beforehand only. Then see, if you have noticed, then this button have some border height of 5 pixel, right? This have 5 pixel border height, and the name is written in the center, it is in bold, and there is some 10 pixel top and bottom padding. If they have to develop such a big website or such a big portal, will they have to write these small CSS with every buttons? No. What they do, they make a generalized component. How generalized component? They had made a button. They have specified that width is X. Whenever you call the button, then like if your width is 10 pixel, then it will give 10 pixel. Like this is 200 pixel and this is 100 pixel, so dynamically it will pass a width. Then color, width is a property, color is a property, what to display on the button is a property. So that thing which we will not change in the function, but it has some value in it, right? A property associated with it, that is called props. Okay, so four things. One is JSX, then how to do event handling, how to write a JSX, how to do event handling. Okay, event handling will be the same which we did in JavaScript. Only difference would be the position will matter. Then what is a state? State is nothing but a variable just given a fancy name, that's it. So that state some buzzword may become a nothing fancy, just a word is there. Okay, variable is our state which can be changed throughout the component, and property is something constant, right? So it is an argument passed into a React component. We'll give you a small example of the state and property. So this is my state. I have incorporated state with the event handling only. Okay, I'll tell you two things here. Just carefully look. Okay. Okay, this is my console. In this here also it would be button. If I'll click it, it will say button is clicked 0 times, and in console also it should print something. Let us do something. Okay, button is clicked. Okay, one thing. Now I'll take it up. So I have clicked this. Click me. Okay, here it is saying button is clicked one time, and here it is saying button is clicked 0 times. I'll tell you why it is inconsistencies there. I'll tell you the reason, but just see one thing is that, see, whenever this button is clicked, right, the state, the value, if I see the code, here it is something called this dot state dot counter. Just ignore the syntax for of now. This dot state dot counter is denoting that I am giving this a counter variable is there. Okay. So this is my counter variable is to be used. So whenever I click the button, update this button. That's it. So this is what was state. State was my variable. That's it. And in React, there is one thing. Whenever you want to update the value of a variable, you can't do it directly. Okay. So if you are using a class component, I'll not confuse you for now only, but there is something called this dot set state. Okay, there is some function this dot set state when you want to update the value of a class component. Okay, here is why I removed initially. If you have seen, it was written this dot state dot counter plus one, and I have removed it intentionally. There was a reason. I wanted to tell you that this function, this dot set state, is a asynchronous function. What do you mean by asynchronous? A function. Okay, in very lame terms, I'll tell you. See, there are two functions. One function is our slow. One function is our quick. So whenever our slow function is there, right, we execute it. And the first function is executing. The second function is will not wait for first function to be completed. It will execute. Whenever you clicked first function, okay, it is processing, and in the meantime, the second function will also execute. Okay, this is here what is happening. This button dot clicked 0 times. What it is happening, it's not waiting for this slow function to complete its execution and then print it. Because why? Because this guy is a asynchronous. So updating state is the asynchronous process. Okay, if we write in such a manner, we can there are ways we can make it synchronous, but telling you this is a asynchronous process. Like normally, if we are not writing in our code in a clever way, then it is a asynchronous. Okay, so this is asynchronous, so that is why it is in 0 times. And if this process or if this function set state would be synchronous, would have been a synchronous function, then it would not cause this conflict. Okay, so this is about how a state has been updated. Like if I'll click, this variable keeps on changing. So this was my state. I'll give you an example of props also. Okay. So something here I have wrote, what I have done, I have made one more component. Okay, I have written I love ReactJS, I love serverless 3000, I love next 3000. Okay. So instead, this was my property, right? ReactJS, serverless, then next, this was a property. Then I passed it down. Like I have made a component, just like we had button and that Facebook page, right? I have simply wrote I love React 3000. I did, I just updated its value. Like I have passed a property that for the first time you use React.js, for the second time you use serverless, and for the third time you use next. So this was kind of, I was trying to pass down a property to a component. This favorite tech, I have made one more component. Okay. So passing down the property to a function or to a component, that is my props. Okay, and the value which keeps on changing throughout the cycle of the prop this what we call, throughout the cycle of the when component has been loaded, that was the state. That is the only difference between state and a prop. Okay. Okay, okay, next thing, Now, okay, let's now do some real coding. You might be thinking that from last couple of lot of minutes you were listening to theory, and theory, but it was important. See, again, reiterating. If you know what is JSX, if you know how to do event handling, how to what is a prop and what is a this state. Trust me, you can even develop all the big applications right now itself. That is not at all tough. Excel these four things: how to write a prop, how to write a state, how to do event handling, and how to write a JSX. And all your problems at the beginner level will be okay. Now I'll give you some. This would be my tip. See, whenever you are doing React, just try to install two of these plugins. Okay, I'll do one thing. Let me open it. Okay, before the session started, what I did, I made an empty app. I'll show you. I'll tell you how to make it. But give me a minute. Okay, this is my empty app. I have made it already. This I haven't done anything. So I am just opening my VS Code and in extensions. Okay, first extension is ES. This is snippets. Okay, ES7, or we can find it this ES6 also. You can find it. ES6. This is okay. I have this one. This one. This one. See, earlier when this maybe a year back, there we called it as ES6 snippets, but now their snippet version has been increased. This is ES7, React Redux GraphQL React Native snippets. What it will do, it will help you in write your code. Just install this one. And see, one thing I'll add on here is even a trained monkey can write a code, but we don't want to be trained monkeys, right? We are human beings, or we are not robots who can just write the code. It's our duty that we may write a good code or a prettified code. So there is one more thing. This is called prettier. This is what it do. Prettier is something very recommended. See, whenever you will work with the industry people, right? Generally, they all prettify their codes. Prettify is just just making the code look good. Simple. Why this prettier is important? I'll tell you one thing. When you have something extension to prettify your code, right? One, it will help you in if your code will have any syntactical issue, right? It will never format your code. This prettier helps you to keep a check that if you might not have a syntactical error. That is why prettier is important. It helps you debug your code. Okay, so prettier and ES7 snippets. Okay. So how to install React in your machine? See, if you want to play React, there are two ways. One is you can simply use a code pen. Just I did to make this demonstrations. I'll show you how to set up your code pen also. Because if you will see, right, codepen.io. If I open a new pen, by default, like say div. Let me write something. And in this div, let me write something called hello world. Okay, hello world is coming. But okay. So you might think that this is working. Let me do one thing. I'll copy this and I'll paste it. And this also, I'll simply copy it and I'll paste it. It will not work. Why it will not work? Because this is not a plain JavaScript. There is a difference between, we call this plain JavaScript as vanilla JavaScript. Okay. So how do you set up it in your settings, right? Go in your JS settings, and instead of JavaScript processor, click on this Babel. See, what is this Babel? Babel is nothing but we call this as a transpiler and a compiler. I'll tell you what is a transpiler and compiler. See, transpiler is one thing that converts your code, high level code, into machine understandable code, but it will be still readable by human beings. That is transpiler. And compiler is something that converts your code into a machine level language. Okay, so that a computer can only understand. But Babel is something, a combination of both compiler and transpiler. Okay, if somebody asks you a question, right, what is Babel? Babel is a combination of compiler and transpiler. Okay, both compiler and transpiler is our Babel. Okay, so I've added a pre-processed Babel. Babel, nothing much specific. It converts a JSX into pure JavaScript or vanilla JavaScript. That is what our Babel is. Okay. Because why we needed a Babel? See, when we are writing the code in React, we started writing a JSX. How our browser will know that this is a JSX? No, they can't know, right? So that is why, because we have to convert them eventually to our pure JavaScript. So that is why we needed something called Babel. And here also, just click on React and something React DOM. Okay. Just add these both, Babel and React DOM, and then save it. Okay. And when I saved and closed it, see, this is hello world smile. It is coming as is. This is one way. If you want to learn React, you can try it using CodePen itself, and don't worry to create a React app and install in your machine. Okay. Now, how to install React in your machine? Very simple. Just go to nodejs.org, and in this nodejs.org, just download it and install in your machine. That's it. Nothing else you have to do. Why we have to do is because this React is again a node module library, right, or a package. We have to install it. That is why we just need a node this package manager, and that comes in Node.js. That's it. Okay, just download it and install it by pressing this next, and done. Your React is done in your system. Okay. Can we use ID instead of prettier? Yes, you can. No, prettier is an extension. Beautify snippet is also good. I haven't tried it, but I heard it's good. See, this is Prettier is ID's extension only. You can manually, what you can do, you can also manually prettify it by, some people have habit of pressing tab, just like we do in Python. You can also prettify it manually also, but Prettier is a easy way. You can even configure, like I have configured my Prettier in such a way that whenever I click on save, right, my Prettier automatically prettifies my code. Okay. Okay, these are two extensions. Now, okay. Now the thing is that there are, when you will search app using CLI. Okay, what is this CLI? I'll give you a brief why we are using a CLI. See, it is more on those lines. I'll open this React only. Okay, I have made I have made it an app using CLI. So what is the difference? Okay. If you see, there is a thing called package.json. Okay. It already wrote script, build, test, eject, extends, browser, and stuff like that. And dependency was just they when React's new version have came, right, they have made jest as their official testing thing. Okay. So jest DOM, then React, then user event, then what we needed React, we need React DOM, React snippets, web vitals. all these things which you see here, right? All this dependency, when if you will not use CLI, you will have to do this by your own. So if you want, this is CLI is just a boilerplate. It makes our machine automatically makes a boilerplate for us so that we can work. If you want to write this package.json by yourself, how will you do that? It's very simple. It's not that tough. You can also try it. Make a new folder and in that write npm init. Okay. When you will write npm init, right, then you can do it. Then you will be able to build your first package.json and then install my this what you will install React, then React DOM, then React scripts and web this what we call web vitals. That's it. Just install these things and you will be good to go. Okay. And you have to also install two more things. One is our Babel and other is your Webpack. I'll show you how it looks like. I have done it once. Okay. I'll quickly show you. Okay. See, this is something I have wrote by my own. This package.json. So, like, I have named it as creating React app. This was the version, and I have given this description boilerplate for React. Then I have wrote a Webpack serve mode development and stuff like that. See, I have done this. You can also try it using yourself. Okay. And then also you have to make something called this Babel IRC. There is some. It is a bit tricky. So you can try doing it. Okay. This is one way. And the other way is simply you write, there are two commands for it. If you will scroll the web, right, one would be npx create react app my app, or you will find some places it would be written npm create react my app. Okay. So I'll tell you, you might see that npx and npm, there would be a typo. There can be a chance, right? Npx, npm, and in npx, there would be a typo, right? You can see that in some blogs might be a typo. And even in some bloggers, right, they add on that it's not a typo. But actually, it's a difference. If you will do npm create react app my app and npx create react app my app, both will work. But the difference is, see, whenever you will use, right, npm create react app my app, what you have to do before doing this, you have to globally install React in your system. Globally, in the sense, at your machine level. If you have noticed, when we were I told you how to add React in your machine. What you did, we simply installed or downloaded Node Package Manager or Node.js in our machine, and I said it's good to go. We can work on React, right? I told you this, but you might be wondering deep down, I haven't installed React. How can my React app will work? So if you are using npm create react app my app, then what happens is in this you first need to install it globally, okay, on your machine level. If you don't want to do it just like me, I don't want to make my machine bulky, what I'll do, I'll write npx create react app my app. What this npx create react app does, it installs React in a specific directory or a specific folder itself and not on the machine level. Okay, this is one reason. And generally it takes 5 to 10 minutes because it has to install React DOM, Webpack, Babel, and stuff like that. All the dependencies they have to install. So generally it takes 10 minutes. So, and what I have done before the session itself, I have entered the command npx create react app. I have done it. Okay. Okay. So once it's done, something you have to write. Okay. This is again, here is a catch. In some of the articles, you will see to run your React app, what you have to do npm run dev, or at some places it would be npm start. Okay, what you have to follow, this could be a tricky one, right? So how it is, how can you differentiate it? Very simple. Go in your package.json, and in that you will have something called scripts. Okay. So in this, like, to start our app, it is like we have there is some only start is written. Okay. So don't worry, you have to not write npm run dev, you just write npm start. So I'll do npm start. What it will do, it will start my server. Okay. It will take a minute or two. Till the time, I'll give you one more thing. See, whenever you are writing this npm create my app or create React app and the app name. Okay, there are conventions what app name you can give. If you will write na app, it will not be app. It will throw you error. Or maybe there you can't even include this underscore also. Only a hyphen has been included. There are some conventions that you need to take care. I also don't remember, but hyphen and underscore and capital letter, I remember that it doesn't take. It takes a hyphen and a small letter. Okay. So by default, whenever you will do na by using CLI, to this guy, this purple window and in between a React's logo, it should be circulated, right? If it's there, then bingo, your React CLI has been worked perfectly. Okay. 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 So I'll move ahead. Now I'll give you a walkthrough of what files this have been installed. Okay, why I have a yarn.log file? One simple reason I'll give you. In my system, I had both npm and yarn. That is why it had made me a yarn.log file. No reason. Okay, might be in your machine. Instead of yarn.log, there would be package.json.log would be there. Okay, so don't worry. Then this is readme.md file. This is by default, it has written uh, readme files, readme things like, since it was made by yarn, so it is like yarn start is there, yarn test is there. But since my machine have both yarn and npm, both can work. Okay. So this is one thing. By default, the code of the React that runs in port 3000. Okay. This is, I told you what is this package.json, all the dev dependency, all the dependency comes here. And git ignore file. Okay, whenever we are doing some version controlling, whenever we want to this push our code from our local machine to GitLab, Bitbucket, or GitHub, then we had a git ignore file. Generally what it comes is, sometimes we have some local files or this vs, if we use some IDs of JetBrains that makes some ID extension files also. There could be some things. Okay. And generally we don't push node modules. So this is one more thing. So all these things which we don't push, that comes in this. Okay. One more thing is that I heard a lot of people saying this, that whenever they take a project from GitHub or they download their project, any Angular or React project, they don't work. I have seen a lot of people saying that. You know what? What is the thing they are missing? They never install node modules in it. So you be wise. If you find some a good project on GitHub and stuff like that, right? How to make that work in your machine? Just simply open that project in your ID and write npm install. Why this project was not working? In the first case, because it doesn't have node modules. We have to install node modules. Okay, so that is why this node modules nobody pushes it, because I'll tell you, if you go to a small app also, na, this node module file will be around 1 GB, 2 GB, 3 GB. This node module file becomes bulky. That is why people don't push it. Okay. So this is node modules. You that is again git ignore. Then this is ESLint cache. Okay. This is I'll tell you what is it in my machine. I have installed ESLint. This ESLint helps you to write a good code. Okay. It identifies ESLint is what, whenever you see something, na, it will, what it will do, it will suggest you some better ways of writing code. So this is ESLint cache. You can ignore it. This is now only it had made this, my ID has made it, so I'll delete it probably. Okay. Now if I come to this, This is okay. This is React app is there. Let's see how we can edit the title and how we can change a fav icon. Okay. So you might be thinking I was talking about something JSX. But this title and this fav icon are not the part of JSX. So where is my index.html? Index.html is that file whenever we want to make any when we want to deploy anything, right? People say, right, your main file, name it as index.html. So every web app should have index.html. So for React, index.html is in their public folder. Okay, let's go through. I'll give you a walkthrough of what is it written. Doc type HTML English. Then this is my meta tag. This is okay. You might see there is line number 5, link rel icon href public url then fav icon. Okay, sometimes it happens is this public url, why it comes is when you deploy it on cloud, right? Sometimes the path of this what we call fav icon or anything that is in a public folder, there is a high chance its path will be changed. Okay, that is why it is public url is written. One of the best ways is generally when people deploy, when they work in a real world applications, they don't insert images in their project itself. Two reasons. One, they will make it bulky. Second reason is that sometimes public URL causes issue. They generally uses some CDN kind of thing. So for time being, I'll remove it because I am not hosting it. So I'm using her public URL. I don't need any meta tags, then I'm removing it. Okay. Okay, one more thing is that I'll give you guys a tip. Whenever you are creating your own application, right, or your own project, do one thing: write your name in this meta. Okay, there is something called meta author, and write your name in the author. 90% of the time people don't read meta tags, so this is again one of the tricky ways you can save your code. So I'm removing, I don't need a meta tag. I'm removing it. And I'm also removing this, guys. Okay. I am also removing this comment section. And here, instead of app, let me write what I'll write. My first application. So here my first application has been written. Okay. Yeah. Now let's remember one thing, when I was showing you a code pen, there is something called id.root is there. Now you might be wondering, where is this react.render? Because react.render, what is it? It is that guy from which our main this is loaded. What we call main application, right? Or main div has been loaded. So in the source, something there is called index.js. So this is same method is there, right? React dom.render, and here it is document.get element root by get element by id, and here we have passed a root. Getting it? So this is my app, how it has been passed. Okay, I was here. I'll remove this. I don't need it. See, one thing is that you should for sure know how to do code cleaning because it is really very helpful. And in this manifest.json, this is, this what we call, what it was. This was when you share it, right? There is some manifest was written, right? Or this is manifest is basically some this yeah, for meta SEO related things. Okay, so this is manifest. I don't need it. And robotics.txt is sometimes this is there are some people when we don't want any crawlers to crawl in our website. So for all those situations, this robots.txt has been used. I don't want to worry about it, so I'm deleting it. Okay, the setup.test, I am not doing some testing, so I'm deleting it. Report web vitals.js, I am not doing again, it is related with testing, I'm deleting it. Okay, I'm deleting it, and in this also, I'll just remove it. See, I have removed this now, so I'll remove from here also, and from here also. Any the root levels in CSS which you want to do, you can add it in your index.css. Let me keep this here only, and it's working fine. Now, from where you might be wondering from where this is coming. This is all coming. By default, there is a file called app.js. Okay. So from here it is coming. So what I'll do, okay. I don't need this testing also. This is right. Let me do one thing. I don't need a logo. I remove it. Space. And inside my div, let me empty this. And just I'll write hello world. See, okay. Refresh it. See, hello world is there. Make it a bit bold. Got it? So this is how I wrote my hello world. Now I don't need anything else. So let me remove this also. So this is one thing, code cleaning, that everybody should know. Okay, now let me quickly help you make how to make a React this functional component and class component. So the ideal thing is that in a source folder, we make a folder called component. Okay, I made a component, and let me quickly make two things. One, okay, the name of the component, right? I'm keeping it class component. Do make sure that C is capital. First letter should be capital. Okay, this is a convention. Class component.js, and let me write something called. Okay. Now remember we have installed the snippets. So simply, I don't remember the exact syntax. So what I'll do, I use that snippet. What I did, I typed RFE. RFE is the short form for class component. So by default, whenever you are making a component, right, it is always this. Okay, this can be again a question. Generally, people ask in interviews that by default, whenever we are making a default React component, okay, this component is it a stateless component or a stateful component? What is a stateless component? A component which doesn't have a state. That is simple. That is a stateless component. Okay. So initially, when we make a new component, it is always a stateless component. So let me write here. Hi. Let me write some div h1. I am a class component. And there is two ways. Okay. Wait. Uh, okay. This is a functional component. RCC was class component. Okay. How I figured it out, I was writing a functional component. See, it's very simple. Here it was written function class component. From that, I understood this is my functional component. So that is why I'm cutting it. The RCC, I wrote it. So here it is export default class component extends component. When a class component is there, you would be find a class keyword. So here I'll write in my H1. Say I am class Okay, there are two ways when you export this. Either one way is that you simply write export default class component extends component. That is one way. Other ways, see, exporting and importing, just like our function is there. This is like just we have made a template, and so that this template, this would be my child component. My parent can use it. You have to export it. So two ways, either is a write here only export default class component. If you don't want to write here, you can write it in last also. Export default, then name of the component, class component. You can do it in either way it will work fine. Okay. So I'm writing export default class component. Why it is there? I'll tell you one reason. See, whenever there is some chance in one file only people are writing more than one component. So that is why they needed to export the one last component. Okay. So that is one reason. So same only. Okay. And when we make functional components, see, when we had this old JavaScript like ES5, ES4, these guys were there, then just we had a function. But in the advanced version, like in the modern way of writing functional component, we have something called arrow functions also. Okay, either function, if you use RFC or maybe or old, like let me not talk about RFC and stuff like that. If you will write old JavaScript, old style of writing JavaScript function, then also it will work. And if you will write modern way of writing JavaScript function, then also it will work. It's up to you. So see, one thing is that I'll give you here a tip. Whenever you are learning something, right? Since we are developers of today's age, we are not that developers who know React from 5 years, 10 years back. We are not that, right? Since new things are there, let's try them also, right? It's a good one if we write a arrow function. That is in functionality, there would be no difference, but it looks good, simple. So here I'm writing something. I'm a functional component. And I have made two components. Now I'll add them in my app.js. So how I'll do import. Now this class component, give any name, but in caps, okay? First letter is caps. Component ng from, here we mentioned the path, okay? From component, and it was my class component. So here I'll mention my class component. Import component dot functional component. I'm clicking on save. It is I have added prettier in my system. It is automatically prettifying my code. If I go on this, see, here I'm class component, here I'm functional component. From an external perspective, there is no difference. But what is the difference? It is the difference in writing your code. That's it. Okay, one more thing here I'll mention is when you are trying to read some blogs and you are trying to read about class component and functional component. Okay, one thing you will notice is if you will see some blogs, right? If you'll see what is the difference between a functional component and a class component, a lot of blogs will say a class component is a stateful component and a functional component is a stateless component. Okay, why this? It was a time in past when we were not able to make any state is what variable, any state in our class functional component we were not be able to. If we wanted to make anything with the states and some values associated with it, some properties associated with it, we always had to make a class component. We were not able to have a state in a functional component. But time has been changed. If you would have seen, you would have heard, if you have heard React, right, there would be a term called hooks. So I will not say that as a beginner you read about all the hooks. You don't. Just read about two hooks. One is use state and one is use effect. See, I'm not going deep into states and that. I'll give you a tip here. Try to explore state this this class functional component, and of that functionate try to explore only a state and a what we call use effect, use state and use effect. I can quickly show you a demo. See this. So here only, if I'm writing comma use state const name name. By default, I'm setting it as null. You. See, what I have done, I quickly try to make a state. State is nothing but a variable. This is something you do using this. What you do? You do using this. What we call using a hook. Okay. Try exploring that how you can make state in a functional component. Also, it's not that tricky. If you want, I can quickly show you an example. I'll show you it. Let me do one thing. Okay. Let's make a scenario. What I'm doing, remember that counter button kind of thing that was there when I was showing you a code pen? Let me make that counter thing both for start class component and state component. Let me do, give me a minute. I'll comment it. I'll first try to make the same thing using a class component and then using a state component, and then you see the difference. Okay. So when you want to make a state in a functional component, in a class component, how you have to do, just like when we do oops, right? We have to make something called constructor, right? So let me make a constructor. This is props. Props is by default we write it so that when we want to pass any property down it. So that is why I have mentioned props here. Then we have something called super. Why do we use super in our oops, right? When we wanted to have something in general, or we wanted to render this at first, that is why we use super, right? Same here, we can use it in this also, React also. And if you want to make, let's make a variable called count. So how will I write it? I will write called this dot state, then equal to, then I'll make a object, then I will write count is equals to 0. This is how you declare a state in a class component. Okay. So this is done. So let me do one thing. Here I am a class component, and then it, let me do add a button. And on button, let us count is, let's print it on this button only. Okay. This dot state dot count. This is how you use that variable. This variable, right? Count. You will write that this dot state dot count. And let me add a event handler also. Let me write on click, and on click, I'll make a function. I'll make some function called increment count. Okay. Increment count. Okay. Let me copy it And okay, here I'll write my this increment count. I'm making a arrow function, okay? That is why I'm not writing function before increment. Then here this dot state, when we the set state, when we wanted to upgrade the value of a state, right, we use this dot set state. This dot set state, and in this I will increase whose value I have to increase. I have to increase the value of count. So how will I do this dot state? Then dot count plus 1. Okay. Yeah. Why this is okay? The here comma will come, or nothing will come ideally. If you see that, okay, I'm increasing now. If you carefully see that, this count is increasing, right? This is how you do it in this. And if I have to do how many lines of code I have wrote for this? Some 27 lines. If I have to do the same thing in my functional component, again I have made this only new state, and in this what I was making. This is a way to write, okay, const, and in the bracket write count, and we had here something called set state, right? This is by default defined pre-built. So here I will define my own name, count, set count. Okay. If I want to save it, simply write use state, and in the brackets, any default value. If you want by default the value to be undefined or null, write null. Okay, undefined, write undefined. Any value by default you want to save it as 0. Then I have done that. That's it. And here I'll add my button. Same button only I'll add. And I'll write count is, what is the count? This count, right? We have wrote here this dot state dot count. Here simply you write count, and let me click on click. And you don't, if something, some incrementation of one count is there, now you don't have to also make a separate function like this. We have wrote now this dot set state count, this dot count dot one. You don't have to do that in functional component. Simply write arrow, empty braces. I'm trying to write here a function. Okay, so set count, and how about it was my count plus 1. That's it. Just 15 lines of code. Nothing we did. We just wrote one this const count dot set count. And here what we have to do, we have to write constructor, call super props, and this dot state, and blah 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 blah. So many things, right? We don't have to do it here. Let's see. See, this is working fine. So that is the advantage. Like in olden times, it was like we have only functional with this class component is, making up. It's like they in functional components by introducing hooks, they have reduced the effort. So this was how my class component and functional component works. Okay, I'll give you a tip here. Explore use effect also. It will be handy. This is when you want to do any dynamically API calls, right? Use effect will be your best friend. And if you want to work with class components, and if you want to do anything except rendering, okay, why anything except rendering you want to do, you have to use a use effect if you're doing with functional components. And if you're dealing with class components, then there is something called, read about it, lifecycle methods. That would be component did mount would be one of the things to call API in class component. Okay, that is okay. Can you tell when we have to use a camel case and when we have to use both capital word? No, it is not. Okay, where you have to use it only at, see, camel cases, it's like convention. Okay, whenever we use the JavaScript or anything JavaScript related things, we generally use camel case. Okay, where we have to caps it at only two places. One is just the name of the this component that should be capitalized. That's it. If you see this app.css, app.js, these all are capitalized. Only the name of the component you have to be careful, that should be capitalized. Okay. Okay. How many case identifiers are there which is good for no confusion? I didn't get this question. Can you reiterate? Why are okay? One question is that why are you not binding a particular function with the class component? Binding in the sense I am binding a class. See, when I have wrote everything in my this what we call app.js, right? I have binded everything in my one file only. So this is how we make a class component and functional component. So let me quickly show you how you can deploy it also. So for that, let me use, we will deploy it on Vercel. Okay, Vercel is again one of the frameworks. This is developed by Next.js people. Next.js is what? This is one of the frameworks that has been made on top of React only. Okay, so these guys have made a Vercel to deploy. Okay, we will deploy it. So to deploy on it here, I'll push my code on GitHub. Okay. So let me quickly make a new repo, demo repo. I'm making it public. I'll take my remote. I added a remote. A remote is when we want to push anything on Git, right? We add a remote. No? So that is why I added my remote. Okay. Give me a second. Let me push it. Basically, I'll push my entire code on GitHub. You can use any GitLab or Bitbucket. See, one of the good things about Vercel is if your code, if you want to keep your repo as private also, right, then also Vercel will not have any problem. You can also host a private repo on Vercel. So I'll just refresh it. My code came here. Just copy it. I'll log in it. I have already logged in. I have already worked with Vercel. You sign up it, connect it with your GitHub or whatever you want to do. And when you will log in, right, here something you will find import a project. I'll click on my import project and I'll click on continue. And here you paste the URL. And if I'll click on continue, okay. So here is the name of the project. Suppose I'm giving here demo rep only framework or the preset. This is what is this preset? Okay, whenever you are deploying something, right? So you have to build it. So by default, when this you are not using something Vercel kind of thing, when you're deploying these things on a normally, na, what happens is you have to write something script. We call it as CI/CD script. Okay, continuous integration, continuous development script. You have to write that. But in case of Vercel, it automatically write it. Just we have to choose for which we have to need a script. Because I need a create React app. I have made this app using create React app only. Na? So what I'll use framework preset create React app. And I'll just click on deploy. And it will take a minute or two. And build cache not found. And this see if you see install dependency. Why I didn't need to install my node modules whenever we will what we call deploy it, right? It will automatically deploy. It will install the dependencies, and it will check, right, all the things linking dependencies and stuff like that. So my deployment has been started. This was feed code cleaning and two demo components I have created. Generally, it's recommended like whenever you are pushing anything on your Git, right, try to give it a meaningful name. So that is why I just created like feed code cleaning. It's like I have introduced a new feature, right? So this is like feet is like features short form, right? Feet. And my deployment is completed. And yes, it's deployed. The demo repo, this I have given a name .vercel.app. The same thing which I have made in my machine, that has been deployed. What is the use for it? Now we have connected it into with Vercel. Anytime you will push any of your changes into your app, right, automatically, if the things will be merged to master branch, it will be automatically deployed into your own domain, a subdomain that you have got using Vercel. This is how you can flaunt to everybody that today I have made this, today I have made that. You can share it. Okay. So this is how you can deploy it. Bind the function in the construct. Bind the function. Yeah, you. We don't have to bind the function in the constructor. See, it's up to you how you want to bind it. It's not a particular method that you can bind it using props. It's up to you. Okay. So this is how you deploy it. And yes, this is how we made our first React app. In this, see my experience from it of while working in React. See, one thing is that whenever you are working with React, just focus on one thing: single reusability principle or dry concept. That is, don't repeat yourself. Wherever you can generalize the things, do it. Then whenever you are making a big application, first build a static version of it, and then start integrating state and APIs for it and stuff like that. First build a static version of it. Then yes, third thing is that minimum representation of states. How? I give you an example of the username of the Facebook that has been used at multiple places. If such thing is that, why initialize it at different places? Just initialize, have minimum representation of state. This is the three things. Then we have already did this deployment. Yes, last but not the least, if you are talking about React, right, these are two things: Webpack and Babel. I also used Babel term earlier. What are these? See, if you are reading about React and you are learning React and you don't know what is Webpack and what is Babel, then it doesn't make sense. See, though we are not able to see Webpack and React in person, but behind the scenes, who is converting my code into pure JavaScript? Who is converting my JSX into plain HTML? Oh, sorry, plain JSX, JavaScript, right? Who is that guy doing? That is our Babel. Just read about it. Babel is a JavaScript compiler. Why it is called both transpiler and a compiler? Read about it. I've already added the link, this blog link in this speaker notes. I'll give you this presentation after the session. You just have a look on it. This is simply that converts. This is ECMA script. That was ES7 snippets, right? That converts into the backwards compatible version of JavaScript. Okay, that is what our Babel does. And Webpack is okay. What is this Webpack? It is like that. It was like, whenever we are making our application, there should be something who should bundle the things together. That is Webpack is doing. What is Webpack is doing? Webpack is our module bundler. See, whenever we are making small components here and there, and there should be somebody who should bundle them together. So this is what Webpack does. Webpack, what it does, it takes all the modules with the dependencies and generates static this assets, static assets, in the sense that will what do we call that, that will not have direct dependencies, but everything will be this integrated within that. So then that's what, to make it as a bundle, Webpack does it. That simply to entire project is, there should be somebody, right? Like whenever we are packing something, we have to box it and we want to send it to somebody else. We push keep all the things in a box and then send it, right? We make it a bundle. So Webpack is that thing that makes mod that binds all the modules. So this is Babel and Webpack. Generally, people ask in your interviews what is Babel and Webpack. So these are all the things from my end that a beginner should know when you are working with React. On top of it, I'll give you a suggestion. There is a you should also know how to read this npm packages, npm.js, what we call npm.js.com. Explore today about one package. I'll give you. This is React DOM, React routing, React router, or React router DOM. Just react. This is try how you can do routing. Simply do one thing. Install this React routed DOM in your machine, and yeah, then you can just link it. Try doing it. It's pretty straightforward. Read the documentation and try doing it. It would be super fun. So yes, that's all from my end. If you have any questions regarding what I have told you today, then you can ask it, and I'll be happy to answer. Also, if you are doing React and if you feel stuck, you can always give me a shout on LinkedIn or on Twitter. I'll happy to answer all the queries.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving your time and explaining us so deep about React.js, and I'm sure that students must have learned more about it. And guys, before we conclude this session, if you have any questions, you can put your questions in the comments below, and we'll be happy to take your question.
How to host a static site for free? Okay, very simple. How you can host it, if you are using, if it is a plain website, right? You can even use GitHub pages. I'll show you. I'll show you how you can host your static site for free. Even you can use Vercel also. I'll show you. Okay. My screen is visible. When you will go to GitHub, right? GitHub offers free hosting. So, okay. Okay. This only. This is a website I have made. This is hosted on GitHub itself. Okay, a subdomain of GitHub. How I did it in settings, right? Go on your settings, and yes, there is a thing called GitHub pages. And in this GitHub pages, just to select the folder as root, and if your index.html is present in the root instance only, now then it will be able to deploy it. Okay, just click on save. Here I'll show you. Here only. Let me give you one more example where it is not done. Here only I'll show you in this demo app only. In this GitHub pages, right? In the source, just click on this master branch. That's it. And it will automatically deploy it. But you can't directly deploy a React app. I'll tell you a reason. If you want to, this is because of the node modules. Okay. If you want to deploy this React app on your GitHub pages, there is also a way. How you first you have to there is do npm build, and you will be able to have a dist folder and an index file. If you will do in in that fashion also, right, you will be also using this GitHub pages, and you can host it for free. Apart from that, you can use there is a thing called Netlify and Heroku. You can use that also. That also gives you hosting for free. Even this, I have personally worked with Vercel and this GitHub pages. If you simply get a domain name, right? Generally, you get a domain name for .tech, like 75 rupees for 1 year. You can simply buy a domain, and instead of buying a hosting, you can take the hosting freely from Vercel or GitHub and or Heroku or Netlify, and good to go. You can save a lot of money using that. Even a lot of company websites, company people also do that. They just buy a domain and they use this only. How much time it would take to learn React completely? You are a beginner. Just 4 5 hours, 4 5 dedicated hours. Not much. Like you will be able see, this is how we say that, right? Sky is the limit. There are a lot of new packages added every day. But if you want to make a suppose you want to make your simple portfolio using React, if you read about React for 6 hours dedicatedly, you can easily understand React completely. You can work with it. Yes, using GitHub you can host static sites. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for attending the session. Also, I want to thank again Smile Ma'am for giving your precious time and coming here. And I could see your efforts. You have even started from the beginner level and then explain each and everything in the code. And that's the right way of explanation. And I'm sure that most of the people must have got benefited from this. So thank you again. And just before I conclude the session, guys, if we have our one of our moderator will be putting a link which will redirect you towards a quiz. So we have prepared a quiz for you based on the session that has happened. So what you have to do is you have to just click on this link and just answer those questions. So if you appear for the quiz, you will be eligible for the certificates. So make sure that you complete the quiz. If you couldn't find the link, you can find the link in the description below. So thank you, ma'am, and we look forward to to meet you again. And I hope that you'll share your knowledge again. Thank you.
After this session, I'll just give you a PPT link for my PPT and some additional resources. Then you can share it with everybody.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. So this was Smile Gupta, and this completes our first day of Words of Wisdom. And there are 17 more days to go. So what we want you all guys to you all guys is to appear for the hackathons again from 2 to 18. There is a consecutive sessions that will be organizing, and there is a lot more to come. And don't forget, on 19th and 20th there is an online virtual hackathon organized by Hack with CW. So we all encourage you, our Code Warriors team, we encourage you to participate in that hackathon. So thank you. Uh, Stay safe, and yeah, as always, code well.